This is the end.
So now we find out that all the Swagger link we see, it is not coming from the heaven or the hell. It is coming from the backend API, and that's the backend logic. Basically, what you see, that's exactly the backend logic. Actually, Pratik, where is this? This API is writing on this, or this API is somewhere else? This login API, admin sign in. Is there any specific bucket for all the API?
No, we are putting like inside this function.
Inside Docker. And can you show us where the Swagger is implemented? So now, as I also mentioned, the Swagger is implemented by the backend developer. So can you share where the Swagger is?
So
that's the,
for the Swagger, I have to go to the backend code base. Let me open it.
Okay. So remember, I said the word by word, we are actually proving them now. So you guys know. And again, one more time, across the industry, regardless where you work, the same. Nobody doing different way, the same.
So for the Swagger implementation, we used some configuration stuff like Swagger.
Yeah, we do. Yep. So you see this? Yeah. So stay here now. So look at this. So as I said, the purpose of the Swagger to expose each of the APIs based on the user story so that the development team member can understand and do their work. Means QA will be testing, the mobile app will be consuming, and then the product owner can understand. So the best tool is Swagger. Swagger is a web-based application, actually web-based the tools. Okay, so we have all the thing you see on the what is called on the Swagger. Everything actually has to mention here. So what is the flow? If we create a new user story that has to be developed, have to be added in the Swagger, and the third step will be tested in the backend API, need to be tested. Then if we plan to implement on the website, mean the front end, buyer portal or the seller portal, we have to actually consume that API. Remember the word consuming? We say the word consuming means you have to implement that API. So that's the life cycle. User story, then the backend logic. If it is happen to be API, you need to create the API. Then if you implement the Swagger, you need to add that endpoint in the Swagger. Now you have to decide where you are going to implement. Means where this user story is going to be implemented. It is the buyer portal or it is the seller portal. So that's based on the decision we actually start implementing. So now let's implement this. Just try out this API. By the way, go to the Swagger, and then type the information. Let's type the information and check it out, because make sure this API is working or not. You have your user data, right? I hope you so. See, we talk about the test data now, because without data, how you can test it, right? That's called everything you test, there should be a test data.
Should I expose the data for the admin?
Yes, fine.
Okay.
You guys do not mess around the admin portal, then we have to work again. You guys will be lost if you mess around anything with any credential, then we have to redeploy everything. So you see why the API and why the Swagger is not access to everyone? Because you are actually sending the actual data. If you type this on the front end, okay, let's do this. So now stay there. So you see this? Now we see the curl command, we will go this, but look at the response body. Look at the URL. The entire thing is called the URL, request URL. You see this? And the curl command means the entire things, your payload, your method, post or get, your URL, and then your application, the document type, everything actually combine a package deal is called the curl command. So curl command means the entire packaging of the whole entire API. That's the curl command. Now come to the response body. You see this? We talked about response body 200 means okay. So you got it. So this is the one scenario. It is working just fine. Good. Now let's do different way. Why not send the different wrong data? So we did the positive testing is done. We are going to the negative testing.
So let's say I am
Just
giving the
typing 7, something else.
wrong password.
Execute this. I'm not expecting 200 anymore because system should bomb it now. I'm not going to accept. Look at this. Invalid password. So we got the positive testing done. We got the negative testing done. So we got 200, we got 400. How about can you just shut down the system and try again? Now we are actually starting the turning up the system, and then we'll expect the 500. You can do this, right? Can you turn up? Do you know how to do this? Turn up the system.
Which system?
Like your backend.
Okay. Should I run the backend?
Turn up the backend. Shut down the backend, so we will not be able to execute the API anymore.
Okay.
You know how to do this?
No, it's actually hitting the staging server.
You see this? Where the DevOps people come to the end. So you see who you need to reach out when you have this kind of things. DevOps engineer, cloud ops engineer. See, developer has the limitation. They cannot go, they cannot cross the boundary. See how they are part of important deal of the project. So they have all the access permission of all the code base and backend and all the environment. Okay. If we shut down the machine, because the server is there, if I shut down the machine, then you cannot do anything because your response is coming from the server. So we did the positive testing, we did the negative testing, but we actually understand the URL. So click the request URL. So that's the request URL. The whole thing is called the URL. But after the like a domain, that's called the URI. URI, Universal Resource Identifier. Universal Resource Identifier, that means your user story. But of course, in that there is a specific part, which is the feature, like your users, right? After the users, then sign up, sign in, password reset, right? So universal resource identifier is coming in mixing between your feature and the endpoint, which is your user story. Good. Okay. So now we will go over the curl command. Don't worry about it. We are not going to remove ignoring anything. Scroll down a little bit. Stay there now. So you see this? So do not ask me that how this API works. Now you should tell if you are sending the wrong data, you are expecting your logic, business logic to say you are the wrong person. You cannot access the system. So that exactly it's a invalid password. So now we've proven the front end, we've proven the back end. But actually what we are doing now, we are doing the back end testing. What you are doing? That's exactly called the back end testing. Now let's do the front end testing. Go back to the front end and type the same information. We're typing the same information that we just passed in the Swagger. Okay, what happened then? If we click here, what does it do?
So if I put correct information, it will be logged in. So
it will hit the API. Admin sign in. You see this? Admin sign in. So okay, let's push it. Now when you click the login, then the code base admin sign in just is going to kick up now. Is it working or is not?
Okay, let me check the project is running.
Yep, so you need to see if the project is running or not.
Okay, let me run on the production API.
So you see this, he just used the two wording again. He said, my local is not working. Let's go to the staging environment. You know what does it mean? When you work on your computer, anything you do is your local machine. When the code is put somewhere in a specific computer that other people can use, those computer has a specific name. For the development team member, they use the 3 or 4 environment. It's called the lower environment. What are these? Test environment, development environment, staging environment, pre-prod environment. This all the lower environment for the development team member to test. What are these? For the test environment, only for the quality assurance team. For the staging environment, many companies, they give the business to try it out. For the pre-prod environment, many times only business operation user only use it. Business user also, there are many type of business user. And finally, once and development environment where developer Pratik and all other developer actually for them. Where is the quality assurance test? They only test in the quality environment, test environment, or called the QA environment. They also test sometimes the staging environment. Quality assurance team member, they do not test in the development environment. Why? Because developer writes so many junk code, they just debug the code, they just mess around the environment. That's not your scope to test in the development environment. However, in the beginning of the many project, when the cloud ops DevOps engineer did not prepare all the environment, you as a quality assurance engineer, you need to test in the development environment as well in the certain situation. And finally, admin sign up, user story, coding is done, testing is done in the developer computer, means the local computer, and the deployed by the cloud ops engineer in development environment, test environment, staging environment, pre-prod environment, all 4 environment, 4 computers, just say, simple, 4 computer, they're all separated. They have the different address. Computer 1, computer 2, computer 3, computer 4. Once the same code is deployed, means same code is installed, configured by the cloud ops engineer, all 4 computer, testing is done, show and tell is done, all the bug fixing is done. Finally, it is going to the production environment, which is ts40.us. I'm just giving an example. In this case, it will be e-commerce application domain name. Domain name means like your company name. My application meaningful name. Your brand name. Yes, your brand name is your domain name. gm.com, ford.com, that's it. It's not working, Pratik?
Okay, I'm trying. So
sure.
If I hit with correct credential.
Okay. Now look at this. There is a 96, 85, 103, 133. It was actually, rewind the video, you will see it was localhost. Localhost means the computer you work, that's called the localhost. Now you see 96.85.103.133 : port number. So the first part is now it is not the first part is not the domain name. First part we see the number. We see and this is called the IP address. This is called the IP address. And there are 2 types of IP address. One is a public IP, one is a private IP. Public IP means anybody can access. So this is a public IP. That's the reason everybody can all over the world can access. But there is another private IP, means only the people in the internally, privately, they can access. There are two types of IP address: public IP, private IP. Public IP, everybody can access, and the private IP, only the internal people, wherever the private IP is located, they can access. Now, the third is how the IP to the domain, why we use it. Basically, we use the naming, the branding name, so that people can remember. But behind the scene, for each of the domain name, there is a IP address. Good? So you guys learned that. You guys are learning super fast. A lot of questions are coming. Everything will be solved. So what do you see now? So we logged in from the front end. We logged in from the back end. This now one more layer is remaining. What is this? There is a third layer. Let's go verify in the database. Because we say the MERN, right? So we prove the Express.js, which is the backend. We prove the React.js, which is the front end. And of course, everything is run. JavaScript is running. The Node.js means the engine. Anything you do is engine is running. So it's running. Now let's go to the, now we are going, no, last part. Database is the last part where the data is stored. Are you able to log in on the database?
Let me, right.
Sure. So now we use the MongoDB. So MongoDB is the database. There are two types of database, the very famous. One is document specific database. One is relational database. Again, your learning is both. Relational database is table and column. And non-relational database is documented in JSON format, key value. Key and the value. Key is your actually data type and the value is user data. Simple as this. So there is, in the relational database, we call the table. Table has a name, users, and table has a row and column. Column is actually the data type, means username, date of birth, date, gender, right? That's the column name. Row is actually the data that user is passing. That's it. That's the relational database works. Table name and table is mixed with column and the row. Column is the data type and row is the user data, means the whatever data is sending. In the non-relational database, means the MongoDB, it's a documented database. It is actually sending the JSON data format. So our e-commerce is non-relational database, which is DocumentDB. And it is actually, it doesn't call the table, it called the collection. In the left side, it's called the collection. Once we go into the collection, we are going to see the key and value. Key is the data type, value is user data. So you can say key is the column and the value is the row. That's it. So let's see. So now we have to go to the specific collection because there is so many collection will be, because there will be, in application, there will be so many type of collection, means the data, right? Because based on what? Based on the feature. Remember? We go back to the feature. So based on the feature, they will be collecting the different collection. So now we need to go to the user. So how you know this? So now the question is, before you involve with the database validation or the testing, the first of all, you need to get the database access permission, means credential. You need to install the database software needed, you need to do. And then you need to know the either the relational database, which table you are writing the code, the query. Non-relational database, you have to know the which collection you are writing the query. For this, the prove this out, we have to go to the users and we are going to write the query. Simple. So we have selected the users. Now you are going to type the, go ahead, we can type. It tells you like there is two curly braces to start, curly braces to end. So curly braces to start and curly braces to end. Email, because remember, we type the email, right? That's the key. And we type the value admin@dashboard.com, something, right?
Yes.
Okay, stay up, keep it there. Yep, type fully and stay there. Go back to the front end so you guys can see. Watch carefully. So you see, hey, what are you looking? Jamil, are you looking here? Okay, I say, okay. Look at the user. The admin@dashboard.com. So the key is email. But we do not post anything here. We do not post means we just say the email, but it is not actually. Hey, email is wrong. Did you guys see this? Fix the email later, okay? So the key is email and the yeah, it should be the user, not the email. You just said the email address. So you're typing the email and you're typing the password, right? Look at this. That's the front end. Go to the database now. We are only one user story. And then say admin. We did it. And then you just say. Did you see that? See? So look at the details now. There is some new wording here. We will not learn now. There is new wording. So there is a name TS for your admin. A password reset token is nothing. Is active equal to true means this user is active. See, all this information is coming from where? Is stored in the database. And database is connected with the integrated with what? Backend. Database is not connected with the front end. When the admin at dashboard.com, what it did, it actually hit the Swagger API. Okay. It did the Swagger API, and the Swagger API means the business logic evaluated the whole request and then stored the data, means allowed the users to store the data here. I mean, store means, of course, after you log in, then you can do everything else. Can you do anything else without login? So means you are authenticated user. I did authentication for you, means the backend logic is saying, I authenticated you. Now I am actually allowing you to store your information is in the database. I said there's something different now. So means backend and database is very connected because the front end logic, front end is just sending the data, backend is making all the decision. So if there is a broken logic, it's all as in the backend most of the time, if the logic is broken. So now this information is here, and this user is admin. So now if you go to the front end, admin panel, please.
Should I log in?
Go log in. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, please. It will work. It will work. It did. So see now, after you log in, now you can do all of this work. So you see that without, when you log in, this is called the entry point. When you access an application by the sign-in, it's called the entry point.
Right password?
Yeah, we kept it right password. So for now, yes. So now you can do everything else. Any question on it? So we actually proved the 3 systems. We did the front end, we checked the API, we checked actually the business logic, we checked the HTML, we checked the CSS, we saw the actually the specific function is calling, and then we logged in from the front end, we logged in from the back end, and we actually verified on the database. Right? And we actually did the 2 testing also, positive testing and the negative testing. We did all of this, but we did not do the documentation yet. Right? We did not create any documentation yet. Now, any question before we move forward?
No, I have no question. But can I say that backend is restricted area without API? We cannot touch or hit the backend.
Oh, backend is API. You said it, the first part is correct. Backend is restricted area. Backend only can be accessed by the front end or the whoever have the access permission. Yeah, backend cannot be accessed by the like anybody else, outside people. You're right, you said it right, but backend is actually the code and the API both.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
Can the user touch the backend?
When you say the user, can you define the user mean?
Backend user or
No.
front end?
No, let me, can you
Buyer.
define the user
Buyer.
mean? Buyer cannot touch, right?
Yep.
Buyer, because why you will be giving the buyer your business code? The buyer always have to come to the mobile app or website, right? Can I touch the Facebook logic user? No. Even if you give the $100 billion to Facebook, they will not even allow you, right? If you give that $200 billion to Facebook, they will not give you the logic. That's their $1 trillion business. So then who is access the only designated user has the access permission of the backend. Front end, of course, is nothing. Front end is everyone. Now let's log out from this and let's prove this. What is actually the API is? Can you log out? Now we are going to inspect from the front end. Actually, our Swagger API is making sense or not. Let's do it. So let's do the inspect. Yep. So let's stay there. Click inspect. Click network. That's exactly you have to do. When the API fail, backend logic fail, you have to prove all of this before you start creating the bug. Okay, so start now. You see this? The recording is on now. The red light, recording is on. Okay, he's typed this. Remember, I said this, without you click the login action, the backend logic does not run. Backend logic does not click. So click the login.
So should I try
Yes,
wrong trading?
try the password wrong. Yeah, let's do the wrong one. Let's do the wrong one. Good. So you see this 400. So did it make sense on the Swagger? Okay, go click it. And now you see the payload here. Look at the payload. First, look at the URL. No, go. You're fine. Go ahead. Look at the URL. You see this? The same URL on the Swagger. Did you guys see the same URL on the Swagger? The same URL. And look at the post. So go to the Swagger now. Now show them one by one. Go to the Swagger. Go to the look at the post. Go a little bit up. See the post, right? And then the URL, the full URL is on the top. That's the same thing is showing on the front end, on the inspecting. Go back. So now you see this. If the post is there, request method, this is all technical word. You cannot say anything else. And then look at this 400 is status code. Remember, it's called the HTTP status code. Of course, we are expecting 400, right? Because we are doing the negative testing. Remote address, look at the server IP. The first one is domain. The first is domain, means that we put the naming. The second is actually, look at this, the remote address, IP address. Remember, name to the IP, IP to the name. It's called the, something is called resolving. Name to IP, IP to name. That's all cloud ops. You don't need to worry about it. I just give the buzzwording so you guys know. And the last part is, I don't understand last part. Do you know if you can explain, please? I don't know the last part. So many things automated coming.
I think it's kind of backend stuff. I don't know actually.
Sure. Okay, so look at this. What you will be concerning here, your URL is correct or not, your request method is correct or not, status code is matching or not, and the remote address is correct or not. You have to look actually the what is called the content type in the response header. Content type number 4, application/JSON. That was actually in the Swagger. Go back. And then you have to look at the date, look at the time. But this time is different. This time is different. What it is? Am I right? The time is different. 26 is correct, but the time is different. Question. The server use UTC time, universal time. They are always, UTC time is different than the Eastern time. It's universally, the code is installed in a machine. That machine actually the Linux machine. We'll be learning the Linux here because that's the part of the core. So it actually shows the server timing. So if you do the convert EST to the UTC, you will get it. So Pratik, can you go to the Google and just show them UTC to the EST? Okay. Let's see if I am right or wrong. What time it is now? UTC example 7:49. That's 7:49. What time it is? What time it is on there? On our server? On our server?
It's 17:4839.
So it is GMT, not the UTC. It is
Sorry.
GMT. But most of the server, like our TS4U, it use the UTC. Now you can say why it is GMT now? Because we manage the server here. We manage the server here, but if most of the cloud environment, their server is UTC time. And that's the reason there is a bug exists. We did not fix it. We are fixing. If Pratik is sending some message from Dhaka, it shows, it convert to the UTC time and it shows us. That's what we are supposed to see. But unfortunately, we see the UTC time. What do we see on the portal? In the bot, you guys did not look. Some actually the bot throw UTC time. I set up 8 o'clock. Why it show the 2 o'clock? Because we need to convert UTC to local time. Local means you are EST, Mahbuba is the Los Angeles PST, somebody is CST. So there is a logic need to be written. Regardless of the user's location, wherever they see, they need to see their local time. But this is not what happening currently. There is a bug in our bot, but it was not the scope in this conversation. Okay, continue now. So you see this, we have actually proven everything. Scroll down and look at this here. Go up, up, up. So there is the server for this. I said the Ubuntu, right? There is a Ubuntu machine. It's a Linux distribution. And there is a what Nginx. It's a web server. Anything you do from the front end, in the website, there is this special software. The software called the web server. Web server is the server that take the request from the front end and sending the request to the back end, means the business API logic. Back end actually run the logic and tell the web server, hey, logic is correct. Tell your user, you are good. See, now you learn front end does not connect to the back end. Front end connect with the web server. See, learning is changing, right? The goal is different now. So in between the front end and the back end, there is a middleman, which is the web server. In this case, web server is Nginx. In your resume, there will be written Nginx. So Nginx, what is the Nginx does? It actually holding all the API, all the endpoint. So whenever user is hitting, it is hitting the web server. Web server tell the backend, hey, I got it. Backend make the decision and tell the web server, yeah, it's valid. Go tell your client, do it. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly everything you do with the TS40 website. This is what happened. You write the request. It is hitting our Nginx web server. Web server is telling the backend, and backend make the decision. Backend does the two things. Backend, write, if your action is you have to store something on the database, it does it. At the same time, it tells the web server, yes, this guy is true. And the web server tell the front end, yeah, he's good to go. That's how the front end works. So if you do not understand, I'm going to record one more time.